Hello there, this is Jackie King. Thank you for letting me visit with you for these next few minutes. I've got some songs and stories for you that I hope you'll enjoy as much as I enjoy doing them for you. I was drifting away on life's pitiless sea, and the angry waves threatened my ruin to be. When away at my side, there I dimly descried a stately old vessel, and loudly I cried. It was the old ship of Zion, thus sailing along. All aboard her seemed joyous, I heard their sweet song, and the captain's kind ear, ever ready to hear, heard my wail of distress as I called out in fear. Ship ahoy, ship ahoy, as I cried out in fear. Ship ahoy. The good captain commanded a boat to be lowered, and with tender compassion he took me on board. Now I'm happy today, all my sins washed away in the blood of my Savior, and now I can say, bless the Lord, bless the Lord, and now I can say, bless my Lord. Old soul drifting out on sin's merciless wave, the strong arm of my captain is mighty to save. Oh, then trust him today, no longer delay, board the old ship of Zion and shout on your way. Jesus said, Jesus said, sing and shout on your way. Jesus said. Hoped you liked that one. You know, a lot of times we get discouraged and we wonder what's gonna happen next. In fact, we get down to the point where it doesn't seem like anyone cares. Here's a little number that I hope will help you on that as much as it has me. When your disappointments come and you feel so blue, there is someone who cares for you. When you've tears in your eyes, your heart bleeds inside, there is someone who cares for you. If I was old and feeble with eyes that couldn't see, would anybody take the time to come and sit with me, to help me pass the lonely hours that are so hard to bear? Would anybody do it? Would anybody care? If my life had been a failure, I'd tried and couldn't win, and I became discouraged and said I'd never try again. If my heart was sad and lonely, filled with sorrow and despair, would anybody comfort me? Would anybody care? You know, there are many here who love us and many whom we love, just as true and everlasting as the stars that shine above. There's a friend who'll never fail us, one who hears each silent prayer. That friend is always near us, and he will always care. Someone to care, someone to share all your troubles like no other can do. He'll come down from the skies and brush the tears from your eyes. You're his child, and he cares for you. Yes, he certainly does. And there's someone else that cares too. Everyone has a mother. Too long ago I sat by Mother's bedside. She knew she was going, and she knew where she was going. She called me over, she said, "Son, you've been singing a long time now, and I've took care of you as long as I can. I'm gonna go now and be with Daddy and Grandmother and Jesus. I don't want you to lose your faith, son. If I'm called on Friday and you're called to sing on Sunday, I want you to go." I promised her I would. Not long after that, I was called to sing, and the first song I thought would choke me to death. In desperation, I looked at the ceiling in prayer. It looked like an old hole opened up, and I could look straight into eternity. And there, standing by the pearly gates with Dad's arm around her, was Mom. She was looking down, smiling, because she knew I was keeping my promise. Now, I told you that for a reason. You may get to cross the Jordan to those gates before I do. If you do, I'd like for you to look up Mom and Dad. They'll not be hard to find. They'll be close to the gates, keeping an eye on this old boy. And give them this message for me. If you get to cross chilly Jordan before I do, tell my friends on the other side of Jordan that I will be there soon. Tell my friends across the river that I'm coming up the road, and I'm not the least bit travel weary, 'cause Jesus took my load. I'd like to feel around my neck the arms of the ones I love. Tell Mother that I'll see her there in that sweet home above. Tell Dad I'd like to shake his hand where there can be no tears, and sit down beneath the olive tree and talk. Maybe a million years. So if you cross Jordan before I do, when you reach that golden strand, tell all my friends I'm coming too, 'cause Jesus holds my hand. Then we'll talk it over, how Jesus paid the cost, how he died to save us and hung there on the cross. Tell my darling mother how I miss her. Tell my daddy too. But most important, tell them both just to wait there by the river, that I will be there soon. Yes, that time's coming, and now I'd like to do for you the one that most of you have requested. The following needs no introduction. Prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door. Words are so easily spoken. Prayer without faith is like a boat without an oar. So have faith when you speak to my master. That's all he asked you for. Prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door. It was the year 1927. A bouncing baby boy was born to a family in a small southern town. Beautiful day in May, 9 pounds, some few ounces. The family was very proud. Until one day at the age of 3 months, the child was stricken. Rushed to the hospital, pathologists were called in. Finally, the diagnosis came after a series of tests. He can't turn his head. He can't move his arms and hands, his feet or legs. We're calling it an infantile type of paralysis. It'll reach his heart and lungs in the next 24 hours. Guess you'd better notify your relatives. Your baby's gonna die. God said, no, he's not. I've got something I want him to do. Sure enough, the little fella began to get a little better. Finally, they were allowed to carry him home. The family adjusted to a new routine with the baby. Then one day when he was 10 months old, an open safety pin found its way into the baby's mouth and from there to his stomach. Rushed again to the hospital, x-rays showed the pin was open and caught. He was carried into surgery. His little abdomen opened up. His stomach laid over in a sterile pan to open it to remove the pin. The surgeon asked everyone to leave the recovery room except himself. A nurse, being the last to leave, asked the mother, "Is the baby kin to the doctor?" "No. Why do you ask?" "I've worked with this great surgeon for many years. This is the first time I ever saw him on his knees by the bed of a patient. I'm afraid you'd better look for bad news when he comes out. I just heard him give your baby to God." The surgeon came out. "As far as we're concerned, the operation was a success. It's the fever we can't control. Nothing we're giving him is phasing it. It's reached 106 and still climbing. He can't possibly last until daylight. You'd better notify the family. What I'm trying to gently say is that before the sun rises, your baby's gonna die." God said, "No, he's not. I've got something I want him to do." Daylight came. The fever was gone. Once again, they were allowed to carry him home. He got so he could turn his head a little bit. Then he could move one hand, then the other. He got so he could crawl on his hands and knees. They started making preparations for his education. One day at the age of 6, he came crawling into his mother. "Mommy, I'm sick at my stomach." Being used to this sort of thing from the operation, she picked the child up to comfort him. With a cry, he passed out cold. Fearing this was the end that they'd been told was inevitable, she ran screaming to the phone. This time specialists were rushed into the home. They could find no heartbeat. They could find no respiration. No pulse could be located. Well, we told you it was coming. Just be thankful that you had him this long. If you don't mind, before you start calling relatives, we'd like to use the phone to call the morticians. What we're trying to tell you in a roundabout way, your little boy is dead. God said no, he's not. I've got something I want him to do. I just wanted to give him a few last-minute instructions. The undertaker was on the way when the child started breathing again. A week later, he came out of the coma he'd been in. His grandmother rushed to the porch where his father stood with the doctors on 24-hour duty. Come quick, he's woke up. The dad said, oh my God, he's woke up to die. A doctor said, maybe not. Let's go find out. The old dad stood by the bedside and looked down at his son. How you feeling, son? Feel all right, I'm hungry. What would you like to eat, sugar boy? I want a hot dog. You mean you'd like to have a weenie and a bun? No, sir. I want a hot dog, chili, onions, mustard, all the way. The old dad's eyes filled with tears, and in desperation he looked at the doctor. He thought he'd been asked for something he couldn't give. That's when the doctor made the statement that started the child on the road that he still travels. He said, man, we've done everything but trim this boy's toenails and analyze them. We don't know what's been wrong with him. We don't know where he's been. If that's what he wants, give it to him. It didn't take the little fella long to realize where he'd been. He'd been getting those last-minute instructions, and they were to try to put a smile on a face, touch a heart, or bless a soul somewhere between there and the River Jordan. And for that reason, friends, my heart can sing when I pause to remember my troubles here are but a stepping stone along the trail that's winding ever upward. This wearisome world is not my final home, but until then, with God we'll go on singing. Until then, with joy I'll carry on, until the day my eyes behold that city, until the day God calls me home. And when that day comes, friends, I get to the banks of that river, that big golden luxury liner's gonna pull up. They're gonna let down that long silver gangplank, roll out that red plush carpet, and the captain of all the universe is coming down. Son, you fulfilled your purpose. Your ticket's paid for. Come on board. Then I can stand at the rail and look out across the waters and sing, I see the lights of that city so bright, my home, sweet home. For I'll be nearing the shore, I'm nearing the shore. Trouble soon will be over, I'll suffer no more. Toiling all done, the victory won. Oh, it's joy to know I'm nearing the shore. And when I reach that shore, I want to go through those pearly gates. I want to look up Mom and Dad. I want to bring them back to the gates and point down at that 6th grave plot. I want to be able to say, look, Mom, look, Dad, there's not a single flower on my grave, not in the way of a wreath or a spray. But, Dad, I want you to notice something. The whole plot's full and running over with big red roses. And you know something, Mom? Each one of those roses indicates a friend I made, a heart that was touched or a soul that was blessed on the way up here. So friends, we want your prayers, but that's all for the simple reason that when time has come for my leaving, and I must bid you adieu, don't spend your money for flowers, just a rose will do. Just have an old-fashioned preacher to preach a sermon so true, and have an old-fashioned choir. Amazing Grace will do. You know why? For I'm going to a beautiful garden. When my singing down here is all through, don't spend your money for flowers, just one rose will do. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you, and remember, it's better to plant the garden of life with the flowers of friendship than to reap the weeds of loneliness. Jackie King sang, bye now.